So you watch all these big Pokemon collectors and they have these absolutely massive collections with crazy expensive cards. Or you're even a part of some Facebook groups and you see people posting wanting to buy with a $100,000 budget and you think to yourself, how the heck am I supposed to compete with something like this? And that's your problem. The biggest mistake you can make, and the mistake I see made time and time again, is making collecting a competition. It's not about how impressive someone else's collection is. It's about your collection and collecting what makes you happy. And that actually brings us to our first tip. You've got to define what your collection goal actually is and what you want to collect. What part of Pokemon collecting makes you happy? It is literally impossible to collect everything. You could be like me and trying to collect specific Pokemon. I'm collecting one of every single Charizard ever printed, but you could also be trying to master specific sets, collecting vintage, collecting modern, collecting full art rares, collecting sealed items, collecting first edition cards, collecting graded cards. I see people collect promotional cards, or you can even collect non-TCG specific Pokemon products. Things like vintage Pokemon games, Pokemon plushies, statues, movies, posters, magazines. The list goes on and on and on. I could keep rambling all day, but the point is collect what you want to collect. That brings us to our second tip. You've got to set a budget. I've seen so many people get in financial trouble because they don't understand what they can afford and they impulse buy Pokemon because of fear of FOMO. Right now, that's really real because cards are so expensive. Don't be that guy. But also on a more serious note, this allows you to invest in your hobby over time. You have a strategy in place. You're putting money into it every month without going bankrupt. You've got to remember, big collections on a budget don't happen overnight. So how do you create a budget for Pokemon? I don't want to get into all the finances, but what I do is I have a budget for everything for the whole month, my entire life, because I've got other things I'm saving up for. I want to buy a house. I've got a girlfriend. I've got family. I like to travel. There's a lot of aspects to life that you want to put money into. I put Pokemon as a hobby in one of those categories as money I put into every month. Now, the amount of money that you want to put into Pokemon every month definitely is variable, and that's a personal choice. So my tip to you is set a percentage of your budget that you want to allocate towards Pokemon. Be realistic. Don't put some crazy percentage that you're not going to be able to sustain. You want it to be realistic so this becomes habit, and this is the amount of money that you put in every month. You don't go over it, although I can't say that I don't go over it because I have definitely gone over it. But try your hardest not to go over it, and you'll be amazed over time how your collection just grows naturally this way. So you know your goal, you've got a budget. Next, you need a plan of action. So what does a plan look like when you're building a Pokemon collection? It really depends on what your goal is. So I'll use my example of what my goals are, building a Charizard collection. I pick every single month one card that I'm after. Right now, it's the Fire Red and Leaf Green Charizard EX, which is way out of budget. Just want to say that right now. That's a very expensive card, but I've saved month over month. I actually haven't bought Pokemon in a really long time. So yeah, my plan is to get one Charizard every month, 12 a year. I don't stick to that plan 100%. I'm just going to be candid and honest with you guys. I try really hard to, but sometimes there's a deal I can't pass up, or I can get a couple at once. It's a little bit out of budget, but it saves me money in the long run. I do those things. I'll be honest. I'm not perfect. Neither will you be. But if you have a plan, you'll be much more consistent and closer to perfect than if you didn't. And that actually brings me to the next tip, condition of cards. Now, I do want to mention that this tip does depend on what your goals are. If your goal is to get PSA 10s, then the condition you're buying is PSA 10s. That's unavoidable. But for most of us, I don't expect our goal to be that. I expect our goal is to master sets, collections, specific Pokemon, just cards to display. So hear me out here. I like a good looking card. I don't want a bunch of heavy played, damaged cards all throughout my collection because that just doesn't translate to value in my eyes. I want my collection to look expensive. You do not need to buy near mint. On a general rule of thumb, most of my cards are medium played and they've got some whitening on the backs. They might have a scratch or two in the hollow, but to the naked eye, they're really almost indistinguishable from near mint. And that's what I'm going for. Like I said, I'm just displaying them. I don't grade my cards, so I don't really care about that. I just want my collection to look good. And I know some of you are going to say, but Vax, I want my collection to look brand new, just like Pokérevs, just like Deep Pocket Monsters, just like all the big YouTubers I see. Well, I've got bad news for you. This video is about how to build your collection on a budget, not how to build a collection with infinite money as a big YouTuber. So let's come back down to reality a little bit and understand that we don't have infinite money. The collections we see online, they're awesome. I mean, total props to Pokérev and the other big YouTubers that have been able to amass this kind of money to invest in their hobby that makes them happy. Nothing but respect to them. But that's not the reality for all of us. And we've got to be okay with that. This video, and honestly, the channel as a whole, is aimed to help the average Joes and Susies build a crazy good collection that makes them happy without having to sell their mother's left kidney. Tip number 5. Now that you've got a plan, you need to know the value of the card or or sealed product or whatever you're after next in your plan. And you've got to do this before you even begin shopping for it. Honestly, it should be a part of your plan. To do this, I use eBay Recently Sold. I've found that that's the most accurate, up-to-date place to find current value. You can look at TCG Player to get an idea. You can look at Price Chart to get an idea. You can look at Pokélec to get an idea. Those are all ballparks. eBay Recently Sold is telling you exactly what this card has sold for most recently. It's just the most up-to-date information. And it's important to know this so when you're shopping around, you know what a good deal is. So like you heard me say before with the Charizard EX, you've got to be okay with being patient and shopping around. It's not the best idea to jump on eBay one day and say, I want this card, I'm buying it now. Unless you find a good deal, then yeah, absolutely do that. But odds are you're not going to find a good deal right away. So in addition to being patient, you've got to generally plan the right timing to buy cards. Wait after a new set comes out because... Hey guys, this is Vax from the future. I need to preface this because right now the Pokemon market is insane. Current sets like Prismatic Evolutions or Journey Together or even Team Rocket coming out later. There's no real precedent. Are these ever going to come down? So it's very possible that this tip may not apply for those modern sets. I don't know, but from a general rule of thumb, I think this tip still is important. You can never give in to the FOMO of a new set release. 99% of the time when a set first comes out, single prices are inflated because it just came out. More people are buying them and willing to spend more money. And taking this a step further, I really hope you guys don't do this, but I've seen people do it. Never, ever, 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 ever buy singles of a set before the set releases. You're going to pay 2 or 3 times the value because only a handful of people have these cards at this point and they're trying to offload them for a massive payday. Are you really that impatient? Yeah. Generally, I wait 1 or 2 months after a set comes out for the price to fully settle and land where I think it's pretty stable and the value actually matches what I'd be paying. And then I pull the trigger on the singles I want. Also, if you don't buy aftermarket early, we're not supporting scalpers, which makes everybody happy. So next tip, assuming that you're collecting something to do with single cards, don't rip packs for your collection. I'm not saying that from a value standpoint, although a lot of packs, you're going to end up losing money if you rip them, opposed to just keeping them sealed. I'm a firm believer, rip your packs. That's what's fun about Pokemon. But when it comes to chasing specific cards, the likelihood of you pulling that card from the pack is next to none. You're going to be completely wasting your budget on gambling essentially for your collection, and that's just not the best way to do it. And I do want to plug a bonus tip here for those of you who are new and don't exactly know where to buy singles. My all-time favorite place is Facebook groups. I put a couple links to the groups below that I use, but eBay is also a good place. TCG Player is a decent place. I bought a lot of cards there, but the challenge with it is you don't see the card before you buy it. So you're kind of going on the honor system that if they've marked it medium played, light played, won't buy near mint, but if they marked it near mint, it actually is that. It is card stores, so there is some legitimacy there, and I've never been scammed on it, but I do see sometimes that they're offloading bad centered cards and stuff like that. Which brings us to tip number 9, how to use eBay effectively. I've actually gotten some pretty crazy deals on eBay just because I know a few secrets and tips on how to filter searches to be able to find cards that aren't necessarily at the top of everyone's search. So to be a pro at finding deals on eBay, there are 2 approaches. The first one that I've had the most success with is if you search, for example, buy red leaf green Charizard EX. Turn on the filter auction only, sort by ending soonest. What this does is it puts the auctions that are, you guessed it, ending soonest at the top. So you might be able to sneak in a last minute bid for an auction that's ending in 5 minutes and secure it because other people aren't paying attention. The other side of the spectrum that I do is filter by buy it now or best offer and sort by newly listed. So these are cards that were just put on. Other people may not have even had a chance to see them, and you can jump in and buy it quickly if it's priced right, or make an offer that might be accepted because it was just put up and the seller might be just ready to get rid of it. I've actually had a lot of success with that avenue. Now, I do want to say, don't be that guy that goes in there and lowballs everything just to try. That's super annoying. Don't do that. But put a fair offer in. Just be prepared that when you put in an offer, if they accept it, you're on the hook to buy the card. So don't just throw offers all over the place and have 20 out and then they get all accepted and then you go bankrupt. Don't do that. So by far the best thing you can do when you're on a budget is instead of buying cards for your collection, trade for them. No money exchanged. You're not cutting into your budget. It's a great way to boost your collection by offloading things you don't necessarily care as much about collecting, but somebody else might value. The beauty of trading, honestly, is less about value and more about the fact that you're helping someone else in the community. You're making a relationship. You both walk away happier than when you started. I love trading for that reason. Every time you get a card that's not related to your collecting goals, unless you just really like it and it's important to you, I've got some of those cards. I opened at a cool place or a really special person in my life opened it and I just want to keep it. That's fine. But for the most part, you'll get pulls that are just, they're cool. They've got some value to it, but it's not what you're after. Keep a trade binder. Put all those cards in a trade binder so you know what you're willing to trade. You're organized. So if you go to conventions, you've got friends who have cards, you make connections, even on Facebook Marketplace, you know what you're willing to trade and it makes it just much easier for you. When someone posts a card they're looking to offload, I offer trades first. A lot of times people value trades more than money. But the other side, you can also post in a Facebook group the cards you're willing to trade and then say what you're looking for. ISO, for those who aren't familiar with the terminology. terminology. There's also Discord groups, Reddits, X groups, lots of places you can do this, but I've had the most success on Facebook. Most important thing is here is you've got to know the value of the cards you're looking to trade and be weary of those lowball offers. Also be open to bartering. I actually play guitar. I had a really nice amp that I just wasn't using because I'm in an apartment and it was just too loud. I'd been looking to offload it for forever. Someone posted some Pokemon cards that I wanted. I saw on their Facebook profile they play guitar. I said, hey, you want to trade for this amp? And it was a win-win. Sometimes it's not a bad idea to just offer some things that aren't Pokemon related. You never know. Don't be annoying and say, will you take this? Will you take this? Will you take this? First thing I always do is ask, are you interested in trades that aren't Pokemon? Be a productive member of the community. Which brings us to our next tip, the power of the community. Connecting with collectors and buying directly from them versus eBay or a third party will save you money because of the transaction fees. The price you would pay for buying 5 individual cards on TCG Player or even eBay is almost definitely going to be more expensive than the price of buying 5 cards together from one seller on Facebook. Facebook is pure market value, where eBay, TCG Player, there's transaction fees involved too. So you got the market value for the card, but then you've got some additional fees because of the platform you're buying from. One thing I do want to mention, and I hate being a Debbie Downer, but it's important because I care about you, you gotta watch out for scammers, especially in Facebook Marketplace. Because you're doing the transaction with no third party, there's no buyer protection. So always only buy cards with PayPal goods and services, not friends and family. Goods and services is protected for the buyer. So if there is a scam or you never get the card or something happens, the person disappears, PayPal needs some evidence, but it will side with you. This has happened to me. They are very good about this. They will get you your money back and they'll take it from the scammer. Don't buy friends and family because then you're not protected. The last tip for you, and I have to start it by saying I have never personally done this. I probably never will, but I have seen people do it and be very successful at it. So I want to mention it to you in case it's something that you are interested in doing, and that's buying bulk collections. Now, to buy a bulk collection, you often have to put a lot of money out. So it doesn't necessarily fit in this video, but the reason I bring it up is because what I see people do is they buy a bulk collection. They sell off everything they don't want. They keep what they do want, and the selling of the individual things actually pays for their collection. So what they're keeping didn't cost them anything. They end up netting out zero. I've actually witnessed people turn this into a full-on business. Now, the challenge of that is, of course, you need some money up front. So if you do have the time, the resources, and the patience to buy a collection, sift through it, keep what you want, and sell off everything else, it definitely is a viable option to build your collection on a budget. Listen, everybody, thank you so much for staying for this whole video. I really hope it was helpful and provided some value. I tried to lay out everything that I've done to build my collection on a budget to make it easy and understandable. But if you do have questions, put them in the comments. I'm happy to answer. I'd love to hear about your dream collections and if this video has helped you achieve that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.